And I'll just continue talking a little more about 3D printing and all. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with 3D printing, but a lot of us probably think it's a really new technology. You know, we hear about companies getting it, and schools are going out and buying their own 3D printers, and so you know, it seems like a new technology, but in all reality, my brother, hey Mitchell. It's actually been around since the 80s, and it was called rapid prototyping technology. And they believed it to be a faster, more efficient way to quickly prototype parts, which it's proven to be that way. So back then, though, 3D printers were incredibly expensive. You know, they cost you an arm and a leg, and they're big, they're clunky. The print quality wasn't all that great, and the print success rate was actually incredibly low. I mean, sometimes you could expect a 50% success rate, which is pretty terrible. I would go nuts if that was how my printer worked. But yeah, so 3D printers are getting much cheaper now. I mean, this is a $65 3D printer that was made from just some scrap material. Try clicking on it. So some guy just went through a junkyard, I guess, and grabbed a whole bunch of old electronics and whipped himself up a 3D printer. So yeah, and 3D printers are getting cheaper. One way they're able to do that is a company will go out and they'll just buy a really nice 3D printer, then they start 3D printing these cheaper 3D printers. And they're considered rep wraps, and that it's a rapid prototyping 3D printer that's able to print most of the components it needs for itself to run. So a lot of companies are doing this, and it's pretty great. The quality's getting much better too. So yeah, to kind of summarize here, 3D printing is getting cheaper, it's more accessible, and soon it might just show up in everyone's house and be as common as just your inkjet printer. So, oh yeah, that's just a liquid resin 3D printer. Nothing fancy. So this is what we use TNT and C4 for a little while. Wanhao Duplicator i3. It's only $400, and for what it is, it's been pretty great. It has over 415 hours of 3D printing on it, and 2.5 kilometers of filament have gone through it, and it hasn't let us down yet, so that's pretty great. So with all that, it's like, well, what can you do with 3D printing, and like, where's it going today? Well, it's in fashion. For instance, that red dress, that was printed all in one piece, and once it was done, you just pull it off the print pad, unroll the thing, and there you go, there's a dress. I mean, bow tie shoes, hats, crowns, whatever you want. So, it's pretty big in the automotive industry right now. You could 3D print a part just to show, or you could make an accurate wind tunnel model of your car. And this car over here is actually completely 3D printed, except the tires and suspension and all that. But pretty much the whole thing is 3D printed, and the automotive industry is really looking into it because in order to make body panels for a car, it's pretty expensive. If you could just 3D print one, sand it, and paint it, it would be much cheaper, faster, and make your cars cheaper, which would be pretty great. So it's also in housing. This castle up here, some guy just went out into his yard, built an oversized 3D printer, and 3D printed his girls a castle, so that's pretty awesome. And this photo down in the corner here, that's in Japan. Japan's trying to work on 3D printing houses that would be really cheap, affordable, and they're small, but it takes next to no time to print, small footprint, and so if you're in a crowded area, it'd be great. And they're strong, they work, and yeah. So also, you can 3D print food. I'm waiting for the day that they can 3D print a hamburger, but for the time being, it's just kind of candy right now. It's just kind of frosting. So, yeah, and then 3D printing has a lot of potential in medicine. For instance, you could 3D print cheap prosthetics, which would be great given how expensive they are today. And also the beauty of 3D printing is it can be completely custom to you. You could scan your arm or whatever it could be, and they can just develop a model specifically for you. For instance, the brace down in the corner, it looks pretty sweet, but it provides support where you need it for your fracture or whatever you have going on. And it's also great for making models to describe conditions or procedures to patients. And getting even more intense, we can 3D print like jaw bones in case you shatter your jaw and it's kind of beyond repair. You can 3D print one up in the right corner there. That is an ear. So we are 3D printing actual body parts that will continue to live and grow. They're working on 3D printing kidneys and livers and stuff like that. And then you could 3D print skull caps and all that good stuff. And like I said, it's all completely custom. They just scan you and there you go. So obviously you can use it for robotics. I have a whole bunch of examples over here that you guys can come check out later. But you could 3D print yourself a little walking person or whatever, sensor mounts, slide guides, pulleys, just whatever you really need. So there's a lot of filaments on the market too. For instance, ABS and PLA. ABS is used in Lego and practically anything that's plastic. And PLA is a biodegradable plastic, and it's pretty great, but it's overall it's pretty brittle. But if you're new to 3D printing, recommend getting some PLA to start with. You'll have far less trouble. It doesn't warp as much. It sticks better to the print pad. Overall, it's easier to print with. But for our application, it would be better to move to ABS because it bends before it breaks, and it's overall stronger. It has a higher heat resistance and all that. So then there's the really cool filaments that you can get, for instance, carbon fiber impregnated filament and wood, bamboo, and all these other kind of wood product style filaments. And I think the Xbox controllers are legal for play this year, so why not just print yourself out a pretty cool wood top for that? That would be awesome. You got glow in the dark, you got conductive, so in the future, as that gets better, you could probably just start 3D printing circuit boards, and that would be pretty amazing. So there's magnetic, and then there's TBC or Ninja Flex, which is like a rubber band, and be warned, it's pretty hard to print with, but the results would be pretty rewarding once you get it all set up and working. So then you got metal impregnated filament, you got like bronze, steel, and other, I think copper too, and stuff like that. And then you have wax, which would be great for casting. So if you have a part that you've tried printing, like we've printed hooks, like that's what we were trying to use to do our pull-up last year, and they would break. So we were going to go cast one, we kind of ran out of time, but you could print it in wax, and then you put like a sand mold around it, and then you burn the mold, and the wax comes out, and then you pour in your aluminum or whatever you're going to make it out of, and once that's cooled, you break away the casting, there's your part, so that's pretty sweet. So, most of the designs I make are on Thingiverse, and it's an overall pretty great website. You can get pretty much anything for 3D printing. Sometimes there's even CNC or laser engraving files on there. So, yeah, so if you just type in FTC, there's like 226 results as of now, and you can find pretty much anything. And if you want to find me, it's just Daniel Wilhite, and I try to keep most of my models up to date, so I got a couple more I need to add soon. And yeah, so these are a couple websites I really recommend for troubleshooting when you're 3D printing, or there's the troubleshooting guide, and then there's the filament kind of spec sheet. So the spec sheet gives you the filament, what it's good for, its strength and durability and all that. It gives you a direct link to Amazon, so if you really want it, it's pretty easy to get. The next one is the troubleshooting guide, which is proven to be incredibly helpful. This is mainly designed for Ultimaker Extended or whatever, but most of this will still apply to everything your printer will do. So it'll help you diagnose the most common problems like the ringing or the warping and elephant's foot, stuff like that. So, and then if you want to contact me, there's my email. You could probably find us on the TNT website.